Both pilots were dead in their seats when she woke up from sleep in row 12. The plane was flying itself over dark ocean with no one at the controls. She was just a passenger who told everyone she worked in computers. But when the fighter jets appeared outside and their radios crackled with one word, the sleeping aircraft came alive in the hands of the woman nobody knew could fly. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Rachel Kim opened her eyes slowly. The cabin was dark. Most passengers were sleeping under thin blankets. The flight from Tokyo to Los Angeles was halfway done. She had been asleep for 3 hours. Something felt wrong. Rachel had flown enough to know what normal felt like. The sound of engines. The small movements of air. The way a plane breathes when everything is working right. This was not right. She sat up in seat 12A and looked around. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. The flight attendants were not moving around. No one was serving drinks or checking on passengers. She could see one attendant sleeping in a jump seat near the front. Another was in the galley with her head down on the counter. Rachel frowned. Flight attendants did not all sleep at the same time. That was not how it worked. She pressed the call button above her seat. Nothing happened. No light. No sound. She pressed it again. Still nothing. The woman next to her in 12B was sleeping. The man across the aisle was sleeping. Everyone was sleeping. Rachel felt her heart start to beat faster. She unbuckled her seat belt and stood up. Her legs felt strange. Heavy. Like she had been drugged. Drugged. The thought hit her hard. Something in the air. Carbon monoxide maybe. Or a pressure leak that was making everyone pass out. She walked toward the front of the plane. Her head was foggy but she pushed through it. She had to get to the cockpit. Had to see if the pilots were okay. The flight attendant in the jump seat did not move when Rachel passed. Rachel shook her shoulder. Hey, wake up. No response. The attendant was breathing but would not wake up. Rachel kept moving. She reached the cockpit door. It was closed. Locked. She knocked hard. Hello? Captain? Anyone there? No answer. She knocked again. Louder. I need you to open the door. Silence. Rachel looked at the keypad next to the door. After 9/11, cockpit doors were reinforced. Locked from the inside. Passengers could not get in. Even flight attendants needed a code to enter. But Rachel knew something most passengers did not know. She knew that if the pilots were unable to respond, there was an emergency code that would open the door after a delay. It gave the pilots time to refuse entry if there was a hijacking. But if they did nothing, the door would open. She had learned this during her years in the Air Force. During the time when she flew fighters and transport planes and learned every detail about aircraft systems because her life depended on knowing. But that was a long time ago. Before she left the military. Before she became someone else. Rachel entered the emergency code on the keypad. A light blinked. She waited. 30 seconds. The door lock clicked open. She pushed the door and stepped into the cockpit. Both pilots were slumped in their seats. Not moving. Rachel checked the captain first. Pulse was there but weak. He was breathing but unconscious. The first officer was the same. Both alive but completely out. She looked at the instrument panel. The autopilot was engaged. The plane was flying itself at 37,000 feet. Heading east over the Pacific Ocean. Everything looked normal except the 2 unconscious men who were supposed to be flying. Rachel pulled out her phone. No signal. They were too far over the ocean. She looked for the radio controls. She had to call for help. She found the radio and pressed the transmit button. Mayday, Mayday, this is Japan Airlines Flight 284. Both pilots are unconscious. I need immediate assistance. She released the button and waited. Static. Then a voice came back, professional but urgent. Flight 284, this is Los Angeles Center. Say again your last transmission. Los Angeles Center. Both pilots on this aircraft are unconscious. Multiple passengers and crew are also unconscious. I believe we have a contamination event in the cabin. I need help now. There was a pause. Flight 284, who is speaking? Are you qualified to fly the aircraft? Rachel hesitated. She had not told anyone about her past in years. She flew commercial under her civilian name. Worked as a software consultant. Lived a quiet life where no one knew she used to wear a uniform and fly missions that were still classified. But 280 people were on this plane. And if she did not do something, they were all going to die. Los Angeles Center. My name is Rachel Kim. Former Air Force pilot. Call sign Nightfall. I can fly this plane but I need your help. Another pause. Longer this time. Then a different voice came on. Older. More authority. Nightfall, this is Colonel Matthews at Los Angeles Center. I have your service record pulling up now. You flew C-17s and did some fighter training. Is that correct? Yes, sir. 6 years active duty. I can handle this aircraft. Copy that. We are declaring an emergency. I'm going to walk you through everything. First, can you tell me the condition of the passengers? Rachel looked back through the open cockpit door. Most appear to be unconscious or heavily sedated. Breathing but unresponsive. I woke up about 10 minutes ago. I think whatever affected them is wearing off on me. Understood. We are vectoring emergency response aircraft to your position. Stay calm. We will get you through this. Rachel sat down in the captain's seat. She had never flown a commercial airliner before. She had flown military transport planes that were similar in some ways. But this was different. Bigger. More complex. And full of civilians who were depending on her. She put her hands on the controls. They felt familiar and foreign at the same time. Los Angeles Center, I am in the captain's seat. What do you need me to do? First, check your oxygen systems. Make sure you have clean air in the cockpit. Rachel found the oxygen controls and checked them. Oxygen is flowing. Masks are available if needed. Good. Now check your fuel state and current position. Rachel scanned the instruments. She found the fuel gauges and the navigation display. Fuel is at 60%. Position shows we are approximately 800 miles west of Los Angeles. Current heading is 090 degrees. Copy that. You are on course. Maintain current altitude and heading. We are coordinating with the FAA and getting you priority clearance for landing at LAX. Understood. Rachel took a breath. Her head was clearing. Whatever had knocked everyone out was leaving her system. She needed to stay focused. Needed to remember everything she had learned. The radio crackled again. Flight 284, this is Raptor 01. We are 2 F-22 fighters launching from Edwards Air Force Base to escort you. What is your situation? F-22s. The most advanced fighter jets in the Air Force. They were sending the best to watch over her. Raptor 01, I have an aircraft full of unconscious people and I am the only one awake who can fly. I need to get this plane on the ground safely. Copy that, Flight 284. We will be with you in 20 minutes. Call sign Nightfall, is that you? Rachel felt a chill. Someone recognized her call sign. Yes, this is Nightfall. Holy hell. Nightfall is a legend. We heard stories about you in training. You flew that C-17 with 3 engines out and landed it in a sandstorm. You're going to be okay. We have your back. Rachel almost smiled. Almost. Thanks, Raptor. I could use the backup. She looked at the controls in front of her. The autopilot was handling everything right now. But eventually she would have to take over. Would have to land this massive aircraft by herself with no co-pilot, no help, just her skills and whatever she could remember from 15 years ago. Time passed slowly. Rachel monitored the instruments. Checked on the pilots every few minutes. They were still breathing but not waking up. Behind her, in the cabin, some passengers were starting to stir. She could hear small sounds. Movement. The radio spoke again. Flight 284, Raptor 01 is approaching your position. You should have us visual in 30 seconds. Rachel looked out the cockpit window. In the distance, 2 dark shapes appeared against the blue sky. They came closer fast. Very fast. Then they were there, one on each side of the commercial airliner. Sleek gray fighters with swept wings and angular surfaces. F-22 Raptors flying in perfect formation. Flight 284, Raptor 01 has you visual. You look good from here. How are you holding up? I am managing, Rachel said. Starting to get feeling back in my head. I think whatever hit us is clearing out. That is good news. Los Angeles Center has medical teams waiting. They think it might have been a contaminated air supply. Happens very rarely, but it can knock out an entire crew. As long as it does not come back before I land this thing. You will make it. Nightfall always makes it. Rachel felt passengers waking up behind her. She heard voices. Confused sounds. Someone called out asking what was happening. A flight attendant appeared at the cockpit door. She looked pale and confused. What is going on? Why are you in the cockpit? Both pilots are unconscious, Rachel said calmly. Everyone on the plane was knocked out by something in the air. I am flying the aircraft. I need you to check on the passengers and keep them calm. The attendant stared at her. You can fly this plane? Yes. I am a pilot. Now go to your job. The attendant nodded and disappeared back into the cabin. Rachel heard her making announcements, telling people to stay in their seats, that everything was under control. Los Angeles Center came back on the radio. Flight 284, we have a problem. Weather is moving into Los Angeles. We are getting reports of heavy winds and low visibility. We may need to divert you to an alternate airport. What are my options? Rachel asked. Edwards Air Force Base is closer and has better weather right now. Long runway. Military support already in place. We recommend you divert there. Edwards. Rachel knew Edwards. She had trained there. Had landed there dozens of times in different aircraft. The runways were huge. Built for heavy bombers and test aircraft. Perfect for an emergency landing. Copy that, Los Angeles Center. I will divert to Edwards. Roger. We are updating your flight plan now. Turn to heading 045 degrees. Begin descent to flight level 300. Rachel disengaged the autopilot. The plane was hers now. She felt the controls respond to her hands. The yoke moved smoothly. The throttles were where she expected them to be. This was different from military aircraft, but the basics were the same. Lift, thrust, drag, weight. Physics did not change. She turned the aircraft gently to the new heading. The big plane responded slowly, banking into the turn. Outside the windows, the F-22s stayed with her, matching every movement. Nice turn, Nightfall, the Raptor pilot said. You still got it. Just trying not to embarrass myself in front of the fighter jocks, Rachel said. You could never embarrass yourself. You are Nightfall. You are a legend. Rachel focused on flying. She started the descent, reducing power, letting the aircraft come down gradually. The altimeter unwound slowly. 37,000 feet. 35,000. 30,000. The passengers were fully awake now. She could hear panic in the cabin. People asking what was happening. Why were there fighter jets outside? Where were the pilots? The flight attendant came back to the cockpit. People are scared. What should I tell them? Tell them the truth, Rachel said. Both pilots are sick. I am flying the plane. I am a trained pilot and we are going to land safely. Tell them to follow all instructions and stay calm. Are we really going to be okay? Rachel looked at her. Yes. I have done this before. I know what I am doing. Now go take care of your passengers. The attendant left. Rachel heard her voice over the cabin speakers, calm and professional, explaining the situation, telling everyone to trust the pilot. That help was waiting on the ground. Edwards was getting closer. Rachel could see it on the navigation display. 80 miles. 60 miles. 40 miles. Los Angeles Center gave her more instructions. Altitudes to hit. Speeds to maintain. Radio frequencies to switch to. She followed everything precisely, flying the aircraft like she had done it 1,000 times before. Flight 284, you are cleared for straight-in approach to Edwards runway 22 left. Wind is light and variable. Visibility 10 miles. You have emergency equipment standing by. Copy that. Beginning final approach. Rachel configured the aircraft for landing. Flaps down. Landing gear extended. She felt the gear lock into place with 3 solid thumps. Speed dropping. Altitude dropping. Everything happening the way it should. The F-22s moved ahead of her, clearing the airspace. Nightfall, you have a clear path. Runway is yours. Bring it home. Rachel could see Edwards now. The long runway stretching across the desert floor. Emergency vehicles lined up on both sides. Ambulances. Fire trucks. A whole airport waiting for her. 10 miles out. 5 miles out. 3 miles. She adjusted her speed. Checked her descent rate. Made small corrections with the controls. The plane was heavy but responsive. She could feel it settling into the approach, like it wanted to land, like it knew this was the right thing to do. 1 mile. Half a mile. The runway threshold passed under the nose. Rachel pulled back slightly on the yoke, flaring the aircraft. The main wheels touched down first with a small chirp of rubber on concrete. Then the nose gear came down. They were on the ground. Rachel deployed the thrust reversers. Applied the brakes. The big aircraft slowed down smoothly, bleeding off speed, rolling down the centerline of the runway like it was a normal landing on a normal day. She brought the plane to a stop halfway down the runway. For a moment she just sat there, hands still on the controls, breathing hard. Flight 284, welcome to Edwards. That was a perfect landing, the tower said. Outside, the emergency vehicles were racing toward the aircraft. The F-22s flew overhead, wings tilted in salute, then climbed away into the blue sky. Rachel secured the engines and opened the cockpit door. Paramedics were already coming up the stairs. They went straight to the unconscious pilots, checking vitals, preparing to move them. The passengers were standing up, looking out the windows, some crying, some hugging each other. The flight attendant came to Rachel and hugged her tight. "You saved us." "Thank you." Rachel nodded. She was tired. Her whole body was shaking now that it was over. Outside on the tarmac, a military car pulled up. An officer got out. He was tall, gray-haired, wearing a uniform covered in medals. He walked up the aircraft stairs and into the cabin. He found Rachel and saluted. "Major Kim. I am General Bradley, base commander. That was the most incredible thing I have ever seen. You just landed a commercial airliner by yourself with no training on the aircraft type. That is beyond exceptional." "I just did what needed to be done, sir," Rachel said. "You did what nobody else on this plane could have done. You saved 280 lives today." Passengers heard this. They started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. The whole cabin erupted in applause. People were thanking her, crying, shaking her hand. Rachel felt embarrassed. She had never liked attention. That was why she left the military. Why she disappeared into civilian life. She just wanted to be normal. But the general was right. She had saved these people. And maybe that was worth coming out of hiding for. The pilots were carried off on stretchers. The passengers evacuated slowly, many stopping to thank Rachel again. The flight attendants were the last ones off except for Rachel. She stood in the empty aircraft and looked around. This plane had almost become a coffin for everyone on board. But it did not. Because she had been here. Because she knew how to fly. Maybe that was not coincidence. Maybe that was exactly why she had been on this flight. To be there when she was needed. The general was waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs. "The Air Force could use someone like you again. We have a shortage of experienced pilots. People with your skills are rare." Rachel looked at him. "I left for a reason, sir. I needed to step away. I understand. But consider this. Today proved that you cannot walk away from who you are. You are a pilot. It is in your blood. And when people needed you, you answered. That is not something you can retire from." Rachel thought about it. About the feeling of having the controls in her hands again. The focus required to land safely. The satisfaction of bringing everyone home. Maybe he was right. Maybe she had been hiding from herself. "I will think about it," she said. "That is all I ask." The general handed her his card. "Call me when you are ready. We need pilots like you. The Air Force needs Nightfall." 3 months later, Rachel Kim returned to active duty. She flew transport missions, trained new pilots, and became an instructor in emergency procedures. She never hid who she was again. And sometimes, when she flew at night, she would look out at the stars and remember the day she landed alone. The day the F-22s whispered her call sign. The day she realized she was exactly who she was always meant to be. Nightfall. The pilot who could fly anything. The legend who came back when the world needed her most. Because some people are born to fly. And you cannot keep them on the ground forever.